Hi everybody, it's December 24th, 2024. This is my video journal as therapy for the trauma of watching my little brother with Down syndrome, Paul Kierans, 65, be locked up for 588 days by the BC New Democratic Party government. They locked him up on September 12th of 2022 and canceled our twice weekly visits, one visit at his group home and one visit at my apartment, when I complained to the Burnaby RCMP that they had created a fraudulent and forged representation agreement for him. To give him the COVID-19 shot. So Paul never functioned above the level of an 18-month-old infant, so he couldn't appoint a substitute decision maker or a representative. That would have had to have been done by a judge. But this is apparently something his group home, paid by the BC government, BC New Democratic Party government. I estimate they were L'Arche. His group home's name is L'Arche, L'Arche. If you have a relative in one of their residences, get them the hell out as quickly as possible, or at least do a very close examination of their care, because they are corrupt. We now know they were started by serial sex predator Jean Vanier, a retired Canadian naval officer. So Paul's group home was started by one of the worst serial sex predators in Canadian history, and it wasn't discovered until he died in 2019. So I'm posting these videos, as I said, as a form of therapy to recover from the trauma of watching Paul be locked up for 588 days. We missed 173 scheduled visits. The group home's lawyer, Tara Britnell, Britnell. Sorry, the internet connection here is not that strong. I'm in my favorite place, one of my happy places, Mackin Park, in the Millardville Francophone neighborhood of Coquitlam, British Columbia. It's the largest Francophone neighborhood west of Winnipeg. All the streets have Francophone names. So I'm posting these videos of, I'll just finish what happened to Paul. So Paul was locked up for 588 days. He missed 173 scheduled visits. I had a telephone call with him on April 12th of this year. And he said, "Kathleen, take me to a movie." I had taken him to see Elvis last summer, or when we were allowed to visit, the summer of 2022. Truly evil people. I'm trying to put out the alarm of this New Democratic Party government. Jagmeet Singh, the leader of the New Democratic Party, was Paul's member of parliament. I wrote him almost every day. He never even responded. Like, he could have responded and said no. My member of parliament, Bonita Zerillo for Coquitlam, never even let me in the door. Literally, her constituency assistant put her foot in the doorway and wouldn't let me in, even though Paul was receiving Canadian old age security pension, and they had the right to intervene with the group home. So Paul, our last telephone call was on April 12th. He had a stroke or some kind of brain injury on April 13th. I wasn't informed of it, although I'm only 13 kilometers away. I was not informed until April 15th. And then the evil nun that had herself appointed as his representative and then as his committee. I estimate she spent about $500,000 of what would be Canadian taxpayer funds. So because she's a Catholic nun, I now have to accept the fact that the Catholic Church paid for her 2 law firms that were working around the clock, because what she had done was a fraudulent and forged document, which anybody, you could look at it and you could say it was fraudulent and forged. And so to protect her reputation, the Catholic Church spent, I estimate, $500,000 or more. They hired 2 law firms, one in Ottawa, a pedophile priest defense counsel from Ottawa who travels all over Canada defending pedophile priests. So when I had complained a long time ago to the Oversight Agency for the RCMP and the Civilian Review and Complaints Commission for the RCMP in Ottawa, and I'd given up hope that they would do anything. But actually, they appointed an investigator, and they ordered the Burnaby RCMP to reopen the investigation. But I didn't know this. And they wrote me a letter on March 27th of this year. On March 28th, I didn't have the letter. I wasn't given the letter until April 21st. So I had appealed the decision appointing the evil nun as the guardian of my brother, but I didn't have the letter from the RCMP Oversight Agency at the time that I made my appeal. So I got that letter so I first found out that the RCMP had been ordered to reopen the investigation on April 21. And I went back to court and I advised the judge that there was the government where the police agency had been ordered to reinvestigate the fraudulent and forged representation agreement. And Paul was dead within 24 hours of my sister finding out that I knew that the RCMP had been ordered to reopen the investigation. So what I believe, Paul was recovering. He was struggling to recover from a stroke or some kind of brain injury. And I could see, I told you guys that he sat up in his bed. He grabbed a big book, a great big coffee table book of movie stars from my hand and started turning the pages perfectly and looking at the pages, scanning them appropriately. He grabbed my hand when I asked him to and said my name. So he was recovering. He had a ventilator over his mouth. And he was recovering. He had a ventilator and intravenous and a catheter. When the nun found out that the RCMP that I knew that the RCMP, she knew that the RCMP had reopened the investigation into the fraudulent and forged representation agreement. She knew, and she filed an application to have me declared a vexatious litigant when she found out. And then my brother, when she knew that I knew, she withheld, I believe what happened, in my opinion, she ordered the staff at Burnaby General to remove my brother's ventilator and sedate him to death, I believe with hydromorphone. So she ordered, in my opinion, from what I could see, she ordered my brother to be killed when she found out. I believe that she thought, well, if he's dead, then that will be the end of the investigation into the fraudulent and forged representation agreement. And it's very serious because her lawyer boasted to the court that L'Arche makes these representation agreements for all of their clients, hundreds. So this problem doesn't end with Paul's death. So the hearing, we had a judge that was appointed to do the vexatious litigant hearing against me. And I believe he was Jewish from his name and his background. So it wouldn't have looked very good for a Jewish judge to make a finding against a Catholic nun So he was elevated to the Court of Appeal, and another judge who worked at the same department of that I had worked at for the federal government was parachuted in at the last minute. I have potentially life-threatening cardiac condition, and so I never can appear in court. I had a heart attack on November 9th of 2016, and since then I've got a letter saying I can't appear in court for longer than 2 hours a day. So this new judge, Justice Judith Hoffman, she sneered when I said that. And on the second day, she went past 12 o'clock, and I stood up and I said, So I said to the judge, I have to leave. I had shown her my medical certificate from my family doctor and from the cardiologist. And she said, can't you, she didn't say why. She just said, can't you just sit in the gallery? So my civil rights as a human being and my ability to defend myself after practicing law for 16 years, is my civil rights are going to be taken away, and she wants me to sit in the gallery. And I thought, holy shit, you're so reckless to put my life in jeopardy. It was like she was challenging me to have a heart attack right in front of her. I've seen a lot of things as practicing law from 1992 till 2014. I have never seen anything as reckless and craven as that judge going past my 2-hour limit. She didn't say, I don't believe you. She didn't say, I want something better. Give me some different evidence. No. So then she, on November 29th, she goes on till 12:30 that day, and then she did 2 full days after that. And I applied for permission to appeal the decision of her going ahead. And I had told her, the RCMP are investigating. I need the information from the RCMP to answer this. And I showed her the documents. She writes a decision, a written decision, delivers it on November 29th. 32-page decision. The other thing that I had pointed out, I don't know if this is too much in the weeds or if you won't understand, but when you go to court, you have to file a binder called an application binder. Unless it's a trial, then you have a trial binder. But you include all of the documents, your documents and the other party's documents, in a set of binders. And when there was a 6-day hearing over who would be the guardian of my brother. And after the 3rd day, my binders, I had filed a set of binders with all of the documents. And my binders disappeared from the judge's bench. Like, just disappeared. It cost me about $2,000 to copy and prepare, and a month to prepare and to photocopy. There was 1,406 pages in these binders, and they just disappeared. And the only binders left were the binders filed by the evil nun, the evil nun's lawyers. And this time, they didn't even bother to file my documents in the application binder. And I pointed out to the judge, I said, my affidavits aren't in there. And in particular, I have an affidavit from our former sister-in-law saying that the evil nun shouldn't be responsible for any vulnerable person, that she's known her almost her whole life. She was a longtime family friend and then a sister-in-law. And she also flew in from Edmonton and gave evidence on my behalf. So this judge went ahead without me there and without my materials there. And then she wrote a 32-page judgment And I have filed on just yesterday. It's so hard to do this when you're acting for yourself. Like, if you can avoid it, never act for yourself, because it's very painful. So I went and I had to file. The way she did it, she filed the judgment in such a way that I had to pay double the costs for filing a notice of appeal. The way she wrote the judgment, I had to pay twice. But I did it, and it's done. And there's a hearing set on January 15th, coming up, January 15th, 2025. They bumped my application for leave to appeal for a month. I'm entitled to have a hearing within 10 days, but the registrar bumped it. So there's all kinds of shenanigans going on at the Court of Appeal, the BC court system. And I've written the Supreme Court of Canada, and I've written the Canadian Judicial Council. And I said that I believe that the BC court system is literally trying to bully me to death. Like, first of all, my brother dies. He's locked up for 588 days, misses 173 scheduled visits, and then he dies among strangers. Like, that's not bad enough. But then they have to have me declared a vexatious litigant. But one thing I can tell you, my Facebook friends, I'm going to win. And they're not going to get away with this. I have enough faith in this judicial system and in Canada and our government. I keep on thinking the goal of Canadian government or Canadian law is peace, order, and good government. And I have enough faith in that this fight is worth risking my life. I know I'm risking my life by going to court, and it's very stressful, but I feel like I was born to do this. You know, I was the only single mother with 2 kids in my year of law school. I was the first single mother with 2 kids to ever go to UBC Law School. It was a horrible fight to get through law school. My children and I endured a lot of hardships, but it all comes to this, where the unfairness of the BC Socialist New Democratic Party government locking up my little brother for 588 days and depriving us of 173 scheduled visits. I had an agreement with them. But they think, these communist New Democratic Party assholes think they can do whatever they want. They're socialists. Hitler was a socialist. That's what Nazi stands for, National Socialist. So I feel brave and peaceful. I'm trying to get my 10,000 steps in. And I feel very proud of the fact that I had enough money to pay for double the filing fees for my appeal of this horrible judgment. It takes a lot of courage. I'm very proud of myself. Anyways, that's it for now. This is my first Christmas in 66 years that I'm going to be doing it without my little brother. Paul, I miss you. I hope you're having fun in heaven. My favorite tree of the trees here in Mackin Park is that big one back there. Hi.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you.
Pretty down here. Right?
It's beautiful.
I love that tree.
It's my favorite.
I know, and you know what? When they first did it this year, they didn't do the tree.
Yes.
Oh my God! And my friend and I came from our neighborhood, and the tree wasn't done. It just didn't feel right, even though they had more.
It looked dark, like there was a big dark hole.
I know. And then they came a week later and did it. Thank goodness, eh?
Yes. Have a wonderful Christmas. That's it. Take care, everybody. thank you, Richard Stewart, Mayor of Coquitlam, for this wonderful display. You really did, you pulled off a great display this year.